In Buddhist teachings, the advice, "never chase after those who have left," reminds us of the significance of letting go and accepting. This is not merely advice to avoid the pain of separation, but contains a profound truth about the impermanence of life, a truth that Buddha, with compassion, imparted to guide sentient beings through the suffering of the human world. When someone leaves, or when something in life is no longer as it once was, we often feel empty, uneasy, and hurt. However, Buddha advises us not to cling to what is no longer ours, as embracing loss and change is the way to attain true peace. The philosophy of letting go does not mean abandoning everything, but rather adopting a free-spirited attitude without attachment. The letting go that Buddha speaks of is a relaxation of the soul, a way to transcend suffering by not clinging to impermanent things. Indeed, everything in life, from people and objects to emotions, is not eternal. Even our own bodies must go through the cycles of birth, aging, illness, and death. Realizing this helps us to live more fully in the present without being bound by the past. In Buddhism, letting go does not equate to coldness or indifference. On the contrary, letting go is a form of love without attachment, a way to achieve tranquility in our hearts. We often try to hold on to what is precious, but sometimes attachment itself is the source of suffering. Buddha teaches that a heart free from desires and cravings can expand to love everyone, yet without being bound to anyone or anything. Thus, letting go is the way to develop compassion and wisdom. From this teaching, we are also encouraged to live in the present, to love without possessing, to bond without clinging. Chasing after things that have been lost brings not only suffering, but also hinders spiritual growth, preventing us from attaining peace. In today's turbulent world, Buddha's lesson on letting go becomes even more essential. It is a way to overcome wounds and find peace within the very life we are living. Therefore, instead of seeking comfort from what has passed, Buddha's teaching guides us to find peace within our own hearts. Letting go is freeing oneself from the shackles of suffering, a path through which each person can experience freedom and serenity on life's journey. Buddhism always regards impermanence as the inherent nature of all things and phenomena in the universe, from people and emotions to the events around us. Buddha himself affirmed that nothing lasts forever, and no entity is eternal. Life is a continuous series of changes, and this is the underlying cause of suffering when people try to hold on to things they cherish. When faced with impermanence, many feel uneasy and distressed, as the mind often clings to things that easily fade, from personal emotions and fame to possessions and self-image. When everything changes, we often feel lost, sometimes with a sense of loss or emptiness. However, when we come to understand impermanence deeply, we realize that attachment to external things only leads to suffering. In Buddha's teachings, impermanence is not a threat, but a self-evident truth, a natural law. Impermanence can be seen as an endless flow, constantly shifting and evolving. When we accept impermanence as an essential part of life, we can relax, stop forcing things, and open ourselves to receive everything with a peaceful heart. For example, Buddhist stories tell of monks who once lived in luxury and enjoyed everything, only to ultimately renounce it all in search of truth. They understood that fleeting material things are impermanent and easily lost. They chose to let go to preserve a calm and free mind. The principle of suffering in Buddhism, or dukkha, also originates from attachment to impermanent things. Suffering is not only the pain of loss, but also the latent misery when we cling to something or seek happiness in fragile things. Buddha taught that suffering is an inevitable part of human life, yet it is also through this that one can learn to understand and ultimately break free from the cycle of suffering. When we let go of desires, expectations, and the fear of loss, suffering gradually fades away, replaced by a state of tranquility and peace. Buddha taught that letting go is an inner liberation, a way for us to stop depending on external factors to find happiness. In Buddhism, letting go does not mean completely abandoning everything, nor is it an attitude of indifference or apathy. Letting go is about releasing attachments and clinging to external things in order to find inner peace and freedom. When we can let go of what we once thought we couldn't live without, that is when our hearts truly reach freedom. Not everyone can let go from the beginning, but the process of letting go is a journey for the mind to become stronger, free from desires, longing, and regret. In daily life, letting go can mean accepting things as they are without trying to change or resist reality. We can learn to let go from the smallest things, letting go of a bad habit, a fear, or an unrealistic expectation. In personal relationships, letting go can mean accepting the departure of someone, or accepting a relationship that no longer fulfills us. When someone leaves, we often feel loss and pain. But if we accept that everything is impermanent, we will no longer feel harmed or deprived. Letting go is a way to protect our spirit, helping us to live fully with what we have without worrying about what has passed or what is yet to come. Meditation and mindfulness practices help us to understand more deeply the nature of our mind and emotions. In meditation, we learn to observe, not interfere with, the thoughts or emotions that arise, simply acknowledging them as phenomena appearing in the mind. In this way, we gradually learn to let go of thoughts, expectations, or negative feelings, allowing the mind to find calm. Meditation is not just a relaxation method, but a powerful tool to achieve inner peace, freeing us from the bonds of anxiety and worry. Mindfulness, or awareness, is the ability to recognize all of our sensations and thoughts in the present moment without being controlled by them. When we live mindfully, we can let go of the past, cease to worry about the future, and accept the present with an open, non-judgmental mind. Mindfulness helps us understand that everything arises and then fades away, allowing us to detach from anything. This is also how we can free ourselves from fear and stress, as we are no longer trapped in painful memories or vague worries about things that have yet to happen. Letting go not only brings temporary peace, but also opens the path to a profound state of spiritual freedom. When we release the entanglements of the mind, it is then that our heart is liberated from desires and attachments to external objects. In Buddhism, this state of freedom is considered liberation, the end of all suffering. Every time we let go of an attachment, such as unmet expectations or unfulfilled desires, we move closer to true serenity. This is the path of self-cultivation that Buddha taught, not as a way to escape life, but to live it deeply, without being bound by changing emotions or external conditions. When we no longer chase after or hold on to things, the mind becomes clearer and stronger. From here, we can see the true nature of all phenomena, understanding that everything is merely a temporary transformation. No longer dominated by emotions, the soul becomes like a still, transparent lake, reflecting everything in its true form. We learn to love without clinging, to understand without possessing. This tranquility is not just a mental state, but the foundation of a sustainable spiritual life, unaffected by the inevitable cycles of birth, aging, sickness, and death. Learning to let go of attachments and illusions also opens our hearts to embrace life. Instead of setting overly high expectations and standards that cause us pain when unmet, we can learn to accept life as it is. This does not mean living passively, but rather facing everything with clarity, without letting illusions and desires cloud our wisdom. When we accept that life does not always go as planned, we experience a calmness that arises from within. All suffering begins with resistance and struggle against reality, while peace begins with acceptance. On the journey of practicing letting go, we gradually experience serenity in each moment. This is when all suffering and anxiety dissolve, leaving only inner peace. To practice this, we need to nurture compassion and empathy so we can view everyone and everything with an open, non-judgmental heart. Compassion helps us let go of resentment or dissatisfaction, freeing the mind. When we see everything with genuine, unconditional love, we realize we no longer need to compete or hold on to anything. In this love, we see the true nature of life and learn to accept changes as a natural part of existence. In practice, we can begin letting go with small things, from reducing our desires and lowering expectations to relaxing the mind and not getting caught up in what we cannot change. In this way, each person will gradually understand that true peace does not come from external achievements, but from contentment and tranquility within oneself. When we stop clinging to the past or relying too much on the future, we truly live fully in the present, experiencing the true freedom that Buddha taught. Letting go is a path that helps us reach a state of mind free from the attachments of the past or worries about the future. When desires, anger, and other disturbances calm down, our minds become clear, allowing us to embrace life naturally and simply. No longer disrupted by illusions, we begin to view life with clarity, recognizing that everything comes and goes according to the laws of cause and effect. Each moment brings us a valuable lesson. Nothing is random and nothing is meaningless. Every second of life becomes a lesson in understanding and inner peace. In this world, many people tirelessly chase after fleeting things, desiring fame, wealth, or recognition from others. However, all of these are temporary, and nothing lasts forever. When we accept that these things do not bring lasting happiness, we begin to learn how to let them go. This does not mean that we stop working or making efforts, but rather that we approach everything with an unattached mind, without expecting results to conform to our wishes. In this way, success is welcomed, and failure does not shake us, because we have learned to let go of all expectations. Letting go applies not only to external desires, but also to the images we create of ourselves. We often cling to fixed ideas about who we are, our strengths, weaknesses, what we can or cannot do. But when we pause to look deeply into our true nature, we realize that these ideas are merely temporary concepts, not our true essence. Releasing these self-images frees us from the confines of the ego, allowing us to experience a state of freedom in which the self no longer dominates. At that moment, we recognize that our true nature is one of purity, wisdom, and boundless love, beyond all limitations of thought and prejudice. Living amidst the challenges of life, we cannot avoid pain, but with letting go, we do not allow these pains to leave deep marks on our hearts. Suffering, some comes and goes like clouds passing across the sky. Our minds become like a still lake, ready to receive everything but unaffected by anything. In this state, we experience absolute peace, even when facing the harshest trials of life. This tranquility is not something distant. It lies in how we perceive life and our relationships with others. Through the practice of letting go, we gradually understand the meaning of compassion and unconditional love. Letting go does not mean distancing ourselves from life or abandoning relationships, but loving without clinging or demanding. When we no longer rely on others for comfort or completeness, we love more purely and sincerely, free from personal interests or attachments. Compassion is genuine love without expecting anything in return, and this makes our relationships with others light and simple. We no longer expect anyone to be anything for us. Instead, we are ready to accept them as they are, with all their strengths and weaknesses. Letting go is also a way to live harmoniously with oneself and the vast universe. When we are no longer overly attached to anything, we begin to see that everything in life is interconnected, with nothing existing independently without affecting others. From thoughts and words to actions, everything is interconnected, and understanding this allows us to act wisely, avoiding harm to others and ourselves. When the mind is no longer restless, we can sense the connection between ourselves and everything around us, living more mindfully, more fully, and realizing that each moment is part of an invisible web of connection. Letting go does not make us isolated or cold. On the contrary, it brings us closer to others. When we let go of attachments and expectations, we begin to see others sincerely, free from judgments and preconceived notions. We see more clearly that, like ourselves, everyone is on a journey to seek peace and happiness. Understanding this, compassion naturally arises, and we no longer wish to judge or criticize anyone. Instead, we are ready to listen and understand. This closeness is not a bond of obligation, but a heartfelt connection, an unconditional love that asks for nothing in return. Through understanding letting go, we also learn to cherish the beautiful things in life without clinging too tightly. We understand that everything is impermanent, yet within this impermanence, there are beautiful moments worth appreciating. By releasing attachment, we can fully live in each moment, marveling at the small wonders around us, a misty morning, a blooming flower, or someone's genuine smile. All become precious gifts when we stop searching for happiness in distant things. We no longer miss these moments while chasing after illusions, but learn to pause, appreciate, and feel gratitude. Letting go is also a way to free ourselves from the cycle of suffering caused by comparison and envy. When we no longer hold on to the belief that we must be better than someone or achieve something to prove our worth, we feel a lightness in our hearts. Competition and jealousy only make us feel small and weary, whereas letting go of comparisons helps us return to a state of natural peace and happiness. When the mind is no longer disturbed by comparisons, we truly discover our true value, not through external achievements, but from the purity and tranquility within. On the path of letting go, we also learn to face fears and insecurities within ourselves. When we are no longer clinging to external things, we no longer fear loss or change. Fear often arises from the desire to protect and hold on to what we have. But when we release that sense of ownership, fear gradually dissolves. We realize that the nature of life is constant change and that nothing is permanent. By accepting this, we become stronger, able to face any challenge without being overwhelmed. As we continue down the path of letting go, we begin to realize that true freedom does not lie in possessing or achieving, but in the very act of letting go. A life filled with desires and cravings only pulls us into the endless cycles of attachment, anger, and ignorance. Each time we acquire something, more desires arise, leading to dissatisfaction and the urge to seek more. This cycle will never end unless we develop the ability to let go. When we release our attachments, our soul becomes lighter, no longer demanding. At that moment, we experience true abundance, not from material wealth, but from an open heart and a liberated mind. Letting go also helps us face past mistakes and hurts with more peace. Many carry sadness and pain from things that have happened, from people who have left, or from unchangeable mistakes. However, by practicing letting go, we learn to accept that the past cannot be altered, and that past events are simply part of our journey. When we view the past with compassion, we can forgive ourselves and others, freeing ourselves from the hold of painful memories. Letting go of the past means accepting it as a valuable lesson, enabling us to move forward with strength and serenity. By practicing letting go, we also open ourselves to embrace new changes in life. Every day is an opportunity to renew ourselves, to experience what we have never encountered before. When we are no longer bound by old prejudices or expectations, we become flexible, adaptable, and open to differences. This openness allows us to see the diverse beauty of life, finding joy in change. No longer worrying about the future or regretting the past, we begin to truly live in the present, appreciating every moment as it passes. Letting go also allows us to recognize the equality of all people and all things in life. When we no longer attach importance to outward characteristics, no longer distinguish between wealth and poverty, success and failure, we start to see that everything is just a different expression of a shared essence. Our mind becomes more compassionate, no longer influenced by discrimination. Everyone is seeking happiness, and each person carries their own pains. Understanding this, we become humble, letting go of arrogance and judgment, ready to help and share joy and sorrow with those around us. Our hearts expand, like a river that can accept all waters, embracing all differences. The journey of letting go is a journey back to our true self, breaking through the layers created by society and circumstances. Each step of letting go is a step closer to our authentic being, where we are no longer conditioned by thoughts, concepts, or expectations. Gradually, we realize that our true nature is one of purity and peace, that nothing external can alter this essence. This self-awareness and understanding help us see ourselves more clearly and live more freely. When we are no longer attached to external appearances or social roles, we reach an inner freedom, a state of mind that is no longer dominated. This journey is not easy and requires time, progressing one step at a time, but each moment of letting go brings us closer to enlightenment. Along the way, what once caused anxiety or gradually lightens, losing its weight. We live with an open heart and a serene soul, accepting everything that comes our way as part of the journey, not clinging, not fleeing, simply living, feeling, and letting go. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope these recent insights have brought you meaningful moments and valuable lessons. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to avoid missing any upcoming videos. We are always here to accompany you on your journey to explore and practice beautiful values. Goodbye, and see you in the next video.